Okay, so I'm learning how Clerk of Courts work in the court system of Boise, Idaho. It's interesting. All right, first of all, I think it's important to get their names, all right, and hold them accountable for doing processes. Like when a couple days after I had my ticket, I went into the Boise courthouse and talked to the Clerk of Courts, who are the general clerks in the court, and I applied for. Well, actually, it took me a couple times. It was on the second or third time I had to turn in or ask for the application for a public defender. They wouldn't give it to me right away. Actually went into the public defender office, and then they said you have to get the application from the clerk of court. But when I first visited the clerk of court, they wouldn't, offer me this. I was just trying to figure out the ticket a little bit, and I said I'm homeless and stuff. I thought I gave some good clues, but even after turning that in, nothing showed up on the record that I filed for the application. That it should have at least, that paperwork should have at least been inputted into the Idaho repository, and it wasn't. All right. And I've seen I've looked at other people's cases, and it shows they have records showing that they filed for a public defender. At the very least, made turned the paperwork in. That's recorded. Whether it's approved or denied, that's another input into the repository. So that was kind of a hang up. All right. The first time it wasn't inputted. Then the second time I made sure that I told the clerk I'm gonna be keeping track of your name, and because I turned this paperwork in. There's that. There's also a different type of clerk in the court who works directly for the judge, and they're not exactly easy to get a hold of, but you can get a hold of them. You just have to work with them because they're not always sitting behind the desk like the regular clerk of courts are doing. And what I find interesting, all right, the first clerk of courts, the first clerk who worked for the judge, she was kind of easy to get a hold of. She actually answered her phone. And I forget if I called in the morning or the afternoon. I understand calling in the afternoon gives you a better chance of getting a hold of them because they're busy more with the morning stuff. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because the judges take care of a lot of their court cases in the morning time. So I got a hold of her, but then my case got transferred, and I was just trying to see how my paperwork is going for the public defender. But now my case has gotten transferred over to another judge, and trying to get a hold of his clerk of court is difficult. The clerk of court said, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm calling a Google Voice, and I can't really understand what people are saying a lot of times. There's a bad connection. But he's saying, he said, go contact the regular clerk of courts. And, that's easy. All right, I got their phone number. I called the regular ones, and they pretty much quote me on things that I already know. All right, things that I could see in the repository. I'm like, oh, are you looking at the repository too? And they say, no, we're looking at something else. But it all is the same information. So we're looking at the same thing, just through different networks or different programs. But then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should talk to the clerk who works directly for the judge. And that's where the regular clerk of court said they cannot give me any contact information for the clerk who works for any judges. All right, they can't refer me, they can't transfer me, they can't give me the number or anything like that. So it's protected. It's, I can be referred from the clerk who works for the judges to the regular clerks, but the regular clerks can't give you any information about the clerk who works for the judge. But if you look up the judge on the internet, you'll see that they have a clerk. I think you got to look under the court stuff. All of the judges have, You look for all the judges' contact information. They'll have their clerk's name and the phone number. You just can't get that information from the regular clerk of courts. Why? I think I asked why that was, and they just said that's just the way it is.